Today we're taking a first look at a new trigger for the SIG MPX platform from Timney. Hey guys, my name is Dave Tim. Thank you very much for checking out this video. Today we're taking a first look at a new trigger on the market that is specifically designed for the MPX platform from Timney Triggers, and it's this little guy right here. Now, before we get into this, got to give a quick shout out for TriggerCon 2018, which is July 26th through the 29th in Bellevue, Washington. If you're in the Pacific Northwest or on the West Coast, make sure you head on up to Bellevue for that amazing show. It is open to the public, and there's going to be tons of companies showing off their latest and greatest, newest innovative gear, which is kind of the theme of the show, as well as all their cool other stuff that you get to put your hands on. So make sure you check it out. Open to the public. You can get more information by going to their webpage. Just do a Google search for TriggerCon, July 26th through the 29th, 2018, Bellevue, Washington. So let's get rocking and rolling in this guy. So the MPX is a really cool platform. However, when SIG first announced it like 4 years ago or whatever, they said that it would take any AR-15 drop-in trigger. And if you look at the lower here, it even looks similar to an AR-15. We have a safety, we have a trigger pin, a hammer pin, and there's videos floating around that basically says, it'll take an AR-15 trigger. Well, when they first started coming to the market, people were putting various AR-15 triggers in the MPX and they were destroying them. The bolt velocity, the cyclic rate on this gun is fast, and because of the piston system that it uses, it is just beating up triggers. And one thing, we'll verify firearm's unloaded, we'll remove the mag, nothing in the firearm, and we can separate the upper from the lower because there is something special going on inside the MPX. And you can see here, we'll get a close-up shot. This is the hammer, which doesn't quite look like a standard AR-15 hammer. And then if we look down in here, you can see where that hammer impacts an extra piece of metal right inside there. That piece of metal is called the trigger bridge, and that trigger bridge prevents from slamming and basically beating up the factory trigger module. Well, a lot of triggers that were on the market for just AR-15s were getting destroyed because they didn't have that trigger bridge, and because the bolt was coming back, hitting the hammer so hard, it was basically breaking triggers, and you had a lot of companies basically saying, hey, don't put our trigger in the MPX. Well, this isn't the first one to the market. There are, I think, 1 or 2 more as of when I'm filming right now that are specifically marketed to the MPX. And then there's one AR-15 company that says, yeah, it'll work in the MPX, no problem. But this is specifically made for the MPX. It is a drop-in unit from Timney, and it is available in a single stage and a 2-stage, as well as a curved bow, which is what I have here, and a flat bow. So you do have some options, and it's a nice compact unit here. Now, one thing that I noticed right away versus the typical cassette style AR triggers is that it does have this extra piece here, which is, when it comes, it's just kind of held in place with this piece of tape. So we'll kind of remove that for a second, and this comes off. So this is going to be replacing the trigger bridge. You can see here the design. When the hammer comes back, it's going to hit this extra piece right here. Now, installation is pretty straightforward. Basically, you're going to remove the current trigger, and keep in mind that there is a roll pin that holds the safety in place, so you may need a roll pin punch to remove that, depending on your configuration, how you have it set up. And then it basically drops in place. And then there are 2 screws right inside here that tighten up to keep everything snug. Now, initially I was looking at it, the 2 screws are right in there, and I was wondering if there was like an extra set of set screws or something to tighten that up, and there's not. But if we take a close look here, what looks like a pin is actually a nylon dowel, and that nylon dowel is in contact with those screws. So once we tighten those screws down, that nylon dowel prevents the set screws from backing out. It looks like a fairly simple drop-in trigger in the cassette mechanism here. The parts, they have a quality machine surface. I'm not seeing any burrs or machining marks or anything like that. And it does have a blue hammer spring here. And then we do have a disconnector spring there. But again, this is all, pretty much how it comes. So no further disassembly or assembly is required. Just make sure that the bridge here is in the proper position. And they do talk about that in the instructions, but it does have a curved edge on one of the corners here. You can kind of see that it's curved here and it's flat here. And the flat goes to the flat and the curved will go towards the safety. So just make sure, if you're not sure, leave that piece of tape on and take the tape off just right before you install it, because if it comes apart, you don't want to put it on backwards. But what's nice is that it won't go on upside down or anything. It'll pretty much only go on this way. You just have to make sure that the flat edge is to the flat edge and the curved is out. So let's throw this in and see how it feels. All right, we have our trigger installed and we just did a quick function check and everything is functioning as it should. Now, first impressions, it actually feels pretty good. Definitely a significant improvement over the factory trigger. The factory mil-spec trigger, I think on my particular sample when I weighed it when I first got the gun, was something like 6, 7, or 8 pounds, and it was gritty. It's just a disgusting, mil-spec trigger that, no thanks. Not a fan, but it was, the option for reliability at the time. Now this trigger, again, it functions just like the AR trigger, so I cannot put it on safe. If the hammer is forward, the hammer needs to be cocked. Then we can manipulate the safety just as any other AR trigger, which is just fine by me, but in case some of you are wondering. But the curved bow that I have here is pretty comfortable. It has a little bit of an edge here that, maybe could have been, chamfered a little bit more just for my personal preference, but it doesn't feel sharp or has any edge like some of the other stuff I've seen on the market where it's just, milled and has sharp 90-degree angles. This does not have that. And it feels, like I said, pretty good. It's light, it's crisp, reset's good. There's no creep. It's pretty much just a very crisp break. Yeah. Pretty nice. So let's get the gauge out and see where this bad boy weighs. 3.5, so that gives us an average of 3 pounds, 4 ounces. So basically like a 3 1/4 pound trigger, and that's dry right out of the box. I did not add any lubrication to it. If I lubed up some of the sear surfaces, I bet you that would lower that weight just a little bit, but we're just over 3 pounds. Advertised weight for the single stage model is 3 pounds. If you go with the 2-stage model, it's a 2-2, so 2 pound first stage, 2 pound second stage. But it feels really good. So I think this is gonna be a huge improvement. Now again, this is just our first look. We're not taking it out to the range just yet. This is kind of my unboxing installation first look video, but I want to put probably at least a couple thousand rounds through the trigger, make sure it holds up, because the MPX is hard on trigger. So I want to make sure that if I can put a significant number of rounds through my trigger, the sample of one, then I'll come back with my full review and let you know kind of what I think of it. But full specs, materials, all that stuff is available on their webpage. You can check that out. You can just search the webpage by searching for Timney MPX trigger. Unfortunately, we cannot put a link due to some of the YouTube restrictions, but Timney MPX trigger. Street price on these is right around that $240 for the single stage or the dual stage trigger. And again, they do come in a curved bow or a flat bow depending on your preference. So all in all, first impression, first glance, I do think it's a significant upgrade for your MPX. And if it holds up, they could really be onto something here in the market, because right now, again, the market has a limited options for quality MPX triggers that can actually hold up. So hopefully this one can hold up. If it does, I think it's going to be a pretty nice trigger. So that is my first look at the Timney MPX trigger. We look forward to more progress, and we look forward to seeing you in future videos. If you have any questions, please leave a comment in the section below. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms, YouTube, Full30, Facebook, online, gunsandtactics.com. Follow us so you get latest updates. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great day.